Extended deadline prolongs uncertainty over Malaysia's political future. Two front-running coalitions still wrangling for the numbers to support their bids to form the next government.
And in the midst of all that wrangling is CNA's Lok Wei Su, now standing by in the capital, Kuala Lumpur. Wei Su, it's over to you.
Oh, thanks, Dawn. And joining us to talk this through less than 24 hours before political rivals Perikatan Nasional and Pakatan Harapan had to submit their alliances and nominations before the king. Joining us today, we've got Mr. Adib Zalkapli, Director of BowerGroupAsia. I'll start very quickly. Now, the different groups in BN, we've got the President, Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, coming out to say, he has not said, I want to go with Pakatan Harapan, but he has said, I do not want to negotiate with Perikatan Nasional. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Then we've got Hishamuddin Hussein, Srembong MP, as well as Jelebu MP, Jalaluddin Alias, coming out to say, we have to go with PN, not PH. You've got Sharil Hamdan, that's the former information chief, coming out to say we should stand independent as an opposition bloc within Parliament. Now, whose voice carries the most weight?
Well, obviously, the party president is the most powerful member, the Supreme Council member, has the most power in deciding the future party's direction. But with so many people asking him to resign, does he still have that much power? Yeah, he's in a weaker position now, given the defeat, poor performance at the recent general election. So obviously, he's not as strong as before, but he still has the advantage as the incumbent president. And as the party leader under the current structure where there is an anti-hopping law in place, he has the power to decide the future direction of the party, meaning which side should the Barisan Nasional MPs go to. So if they choose PN, what does that mean? If they choose PH, what does that mean? Well, being in PN is working with PN is something they've done before for the last 2 years plus, and I think there's some short-term gains in working with PN due to I think PN's lack of talents. They probably be more likely to be appointed into senior positions, meaning individual UMNO MPs will get into senior cabinet positions. Unfortunately, being in PN also means being the third or the smallest Malay party in a coalition of 3 Malay parties. So that would, in the long term, kill UMNO. Would not allow UMNO to recover, win back Malay constituencies that they lost to Perikatan Nasional. So being in PH, on the other hand, allows UMNO to play the role as the Malay representative of the new coalition, and allows the party to legitimize the new administration, PH administration, if you ever come to that. And UMNO will be the core of that coalition, providing legitimacy, providing, I think, perhaps the appropriate level of Malay representation to be acceptable to the Malay Muslim community. Pakatan Harapan has PKR, which is, well, in some ways, although they have explicitly said they're multiracial, they're multicultural, they are at this point still relatively dominant in terms of Malay representation. If they take UMNO on, will they then worry, well, where are we in this if UMNO then becomes the Malay party within a BNPH alliance? Yes, PKR has always branded itself as a multiracial party with a Malay core, with a Malay leadership. And Anwar himself has always talked about his track record in promoting Malay language, Malay culture. And he was also the founder of Islamic youth movement back in the 70s. That has always been PKR's identity. But I think there's acknowledgement in PKR, even in the broader PH, that there's a need for a greater Malay representation in the coalition. And the 22 months in government has taught them that this is something that they sorely lacked. Exactly. So for that 22 months, they were under a lot of pressure from outside the coalition, from Malay NGOs and also at that time Malay opposition parties, UMNO and PAS, getting together, criticizing them even for the smallest things, claiming that PH administration then was undermining the Malay and Muslim community. So I think there's an acceptance that they need a legitimate Malay representative in the coalition. On that note, PAS concerns, we're looking at investors today quite concerned, the ringgit falling as well, fears that
if PAS has a greater say in government, and they do, they have the most number of seats, they will impose stronger, stricter Sharia law, for example, banning alcohol consumption, banning gambling. But your opinion on PAS is that it's a pragmatic party. It knows its limits. It will keep itself to certain portfolios and not interfere with others. You still stand by that?
Yes, I think PAS has been very pragmatic. It is, after all, one of the first, if not the first, Islamic movement to take part in an electoral process. PAS game plan from day one has always been to take part in Malaysia's general election. And they've been in the federal government over the last 2+ years, since February 2020, and they've been very pragmatic. They've not pushed for greater control of the legal system.
Okay.
And
yes. Yeah.
They've only confined, they've introduced new laws. I mean, they've only strict in their own states.
In Kedah,
Yes.
Kelantan and Sarawak. Okay, final question, because we're running out of time. Which choice would lead to greater stability, which everyone claims to want in Malaysia? BN, PH, BN, PN, PAS, or PAS is in PN?
I think if you're looking at relative stability, we think we can forget about stability that we saw before 2018. I think those days are behind us. What would provide, I think, relative stability is perhaps a PH plus BN plus one or two East Malaysian parties, Sabah and Sarawak. So in that way, it represents a significant number of urban voters, especially urban constituencies. And at the same time, UMNO can provide the support from rural Malaysia. So I guess that probably reflect closely the demographic of the country.
Thanks so much for that, Mr. Adib Zalkapli, Director of BowerGroupAsia. Thanks so much for joining us.